So, with the release of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the first full 3D Kirby game, I thought I'd take a look at possibly the last 2D Kirby game, Kirby Star Allies. So, I'm a big Kirby fan and really love the series because it's chill and relaxing. It's also cute and colorful, and playing a Kirby game makes me feel like a kid again. And yeah, it gets a lot of complaints for its difficulty, but if I wanted to play something difficult, I would just play a Souls game, like Elden Rings for example, which is fucking awesome by the way. But yeah, I don't mind the fact that Kirby games are a breeze, kinda like spring breeze, right? But no, seriously, I like the easygoing, relaxing playthrough of a Kirby game, but while on the subject of difficulty, this game does add in some things if you want more of a challenge, but I'll get into that later. So for this review, I'll be looking at Kirby Star Allies as a whole, including all the free DLC patches it got. Kirby Star Allies seemed to get a mixed reception. If I were to be honest, this was actually one of my favorite Kirby games, believe it or not. Now, I'm not saying it's the best, but I would put it somewhere behind Kirby Superstars and Kirby Planet Robobot. Now those two are definitely the best Kirby games and definitely my two favorite, but Star Allies really isn't that bad. So with that said, let's talk story first. Since this game is like 4 years old, there will be some spoilers, and really there isn't that much story until the end anyways. So the story starts out with a priest named Highness trying to break a seal to revive his religion's god. But he fucked up, the ritual causing the Jamba hearts to shatter and send its shards flying throughout the galaxy. Many of these pieces fall down to Dreamland, where many residents watch as the shards fall from the skies. The shards then corrupt and possess anyone they have fallen near to. Kirby, as usual, slept through the chaos. So then, when Kirby wakes up and finds he has the ability to throw hearts and make his enemies friends, and now with DDD up to his old trick stealing food, Kirby goes to investigate. So yeah, the game pretty much starts off like most Kirby games. Some shit happens in Dreamland and Kirby goes sees what's going on. So as you make your way through Dreamland and have a pretty cool fight with Swole DD Daddy, you find out, shocker, he was possessed for like the 100th time. And from here you go through Popstar fighting a possessed Meta Knight, and then you go to the Jamba Station base? Jamba Station? How the fuck do you say that? Whatever. But anyways, yeah, you meet the three mage sisters and you fight them as you go through the base. And like I said, the game is light on story, so basically you find out that they're trying to collect these negative hearts so Highness can revive their god. Once you defeat the three mage sisters, you will go to my favorite area of the game to try to stop Highness. What I love about the last area is that it reminds me of Milky Way Wishes from Kirby Superstars, and like Milky Way Wishes, you can choose the levels you want in any order. Now, after you have another battle with Zan, you finally confront Highness, and like true Kirby fashion, the game always gets dark and creepy at the end. Starting with Highness bitch slapping his own ally. Once Highness realizes Kirby is trying to stop him, he will not only go all batshit crazy, but he just casually throws in all this Kirby lore at you, which is pretty neat. And then you have a two-part battle with Highness, and I just gotta say, Highness is pretty cool villain for Kirby just because of how crazy he is. And also I like how he's like the reverse of Kirby and his allies, as where Kirby and his allies help each other, Highness straight up just uses his allies as weapons, and what's worse is that they're unconscious, which is kind of messed up but funny at the same time. Mostly because Highness just doesn't give a fuck. So once Highness is taken care of, you find out you're too late and Void is revived anyways. I think Void is very weird and interesting for a design for a final boss, but I do love his final form. and like Highness's information drop, Void is discussed quite a bit. One of my favorite theories is that he's like a corrupted Kirby, which is pretty cool. But anyways, once you defeat Void, you will have a final button mashing segment, which is pretty much ripped off of Dragon Ball Z. And with that final energy blast, the last 2D Kirby game ends. Now, the story is nothing amazing. It is a Kirby game after all, but I do like the lore that it added, to the series overall. And really, I enjoyed the final boss fight. So now on to the gameplay. Like most Kirby games, you will suck and swallow your enemies to get their abilities. And yes, I said suck and swallow. Now, this game's gimmick is you can throw hearts to recruit enemies to fight by your side, which is okay, I guess. To be honest, I don't care for recruiting enemies just because I feel it makes the screen a little too cluttered, but whatever. I just wish the game didn't force recruiting enemies so much, because you do need multiples to get past certain areas of the game. Now, this is a pretty straightforward 2D platformer where you go through the levels and fight bosses, and there's some puzzle rooms that you have to figure out by using different combinations of powers. Another new feature in this game is that you can combine certain power-ups, although really it's just adding elemental properties to melee type weapons. It's not really like Kirby 64 where you can like combine multiple different copy abilities. Basically, if you have a melee weapon like a sword or yo-yo, then you can add fire, water, ice, etc. There's also a few team combo abilities that you can use, but those are really only useful in the puzzle rooms. The overall gameplay is pretty much what you would expect from a Kirby game. This game's collectibles are puzzle pieces that you can collect throughout the levels, and when you collect the puzzle pieces, they basically form a picture, not unlike Banjo-Kazooie. Collecting the puzzle pieces adds nothing, but you get some pretty cool pictures when you collect them. They're pretty neat. A lot of them are like references to past games. Now, aside from the main game, there is a ton of other stuff this game has to offer. Like most Kirby games, you have some random mini games that you will probably only play once, and of course you have the arena, which is pretty much a boss rush mode, and basically the difficulty depends on if you fight more or less enemies or bosses. And with the highest difficulty, you get to fight a harder version of the final boss, which is pretty cool. Aside from the shitty thrown in mini games in the arena, there's also a mode where you can play through smaller areas of the main game as all the helpers and other dream friends, like King Dedede Daddy or the free DLC characters like Susie and Marks. And not only that, but they get a new final boss, and the stages that you do while the same themes all have different layouts, and it's so much fun playing through the game with all the past villains or allies like Gooey from Kirby Dream Land 3. The DLC patch really gave the game great replayability, but that's not all.
But wait! There's more!
There's also Heroes from Another Dimension, which is for everyone who complains that Kirby is too easy. This mode should satisfy most players. If they're looking for a challenge, the levels are pretty hard and the bosses are even harder, but the mode is still fun to play, so yeah, with all of those extras, Kirby Star Allies really has a lot of content than most Kirby games. Now, as far as the game looks and sounds, well, it's the best looking Kirby game released so far. It's very bright and colorful and has some pretty gorgeous backdrops. The character models are also good and the animations are clean. Now, onto the sound. Honestly, this might be the best sounding Kirby game in my opinion. You have some really good remixes like Grasslands 3 from Kirby Dream Land 3. And then there's a beautiful remix of Rainbow Resort from Kirby's Adventure. Aside from the remixes, even the new music's pretty good. I think my favorite new track of the game is Planet Earthfall. Not only is the song really good, but I absolutely love the atmosphere and the design of the level. Like the fall thing that it has going on, like the orange skies, brown leaves, everything about it along with the music really stands out in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, overall, this is my personal favorite Kirby soundtracks. I mean, even the boss music is pretty great. Like, almost all the boss themes in this game are pretty good. So yeah, overall, this is my favorite soundtrack, and honestly, I think it's a pretty strong one. So, assuming this is the last 2D Kirby game, I think it went out on a high. Now, while this game isn't as good as Planet Robobot or Superstars, I personally think it's a great Kirby game, and the reason why I rank this game so high is because it looks good, it sounds amazing, and it has so much replayability. And I really enjoyed playing with so many of the other characters from the previous games. I also think it had a strong final area and final boss as well. Hopefully Kirby and the Forgotten Land turns out good too. But that will do it for this video.